And there we go. How's everybody doing? I'm your host, Evan, here, and I'm giving you everything that you need to get started on Airbnb. Now, before I get into it, I already know you're going to say, oh no, not another guy on here trying to sell me something for Airbnb. Now, look, no disrespect to the hustlers. Get your money the way you get your money, but I'm not selling you anything. I'm just starting out my YouTube career. I've been a Airbnb host for about 2 years now, and so I really understand the inner workings and the finer tuned mechanisms of Airbnb. And I'm just looking to grow, looking to share some tips. And later down the line, if I decide to do business, then that's what I'll decide to do. But right now, I'm just setting up for success, and most importantly, trying to set you up for success. So I made a couple of things that you want to take into consideration, look at before you get into your Airbnb business. So, like I said, I am a Airbnb host myself in lovely, lovely Baltimore, Maryland. That's right, I said Baltimore, Maryland. Now, home of the National Aquarium and corridor between New York and Atlanta, if you will, or a couple other great places on that great Interstate 95. And I got into the Airbnb game just to see what it was about more so. I was looking to do more landlording and real estate in general, and I was just taking my small baby steps into it and ended up really getting into the business, having an opportunity and push towards Airbnb to see how it was. And so I'm the proud owner of the Lombard Loft. Next time you're looking at a property in Maryland, look up the Lombard Loft, and you'll see our property. Check out my other videos if you subscribe and like, and check out the breakdowns and the walkthroughs, and follow my renovation journey that I have here on the channel. So let's get into these topics. And the first one I want to break into, as far as what you need to know for your Airbnb, is the big question that everybody asks: buying versus renting. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm here to give you topics for you to do your own due diligence, for you to do your own work. And I ended up buying. I appreciate the buying process. It's a lot to learn and go through, but it's worth it because I look to buy more in the future. I look to maintain home ownership through the tenure of my existence, and I hope you do the same and possibly pass that off to my kids. Real estate is the single most builder of generational wealth in this country. I know there's a lot of talk about the metaverse. There's a lot of talk about other verses, from songs to Bible chapters, but let's just stick with the good old numero uno, and that is physical land property. And so it was big for me to continue that legacy and purchase property like my parents and my parents before my parents. And so if you're in doing business a different way and you're renting, that's even better. But just remember this: it's about scale. So you living someplace and renting out a room is not going to help you get in the Ferrari, which most people are looking for. But scaling is. If you scale between 1 to 5 Airbnbs, it's a guaranteed monthly outcome, but then also gives you a guaranteed monthly income. So just do your due diligence, find out which best for you. I mean, you might be in an area where renting is big, right? Where the they're sublet, they're allowing subletting, where landlords there are allowing Airbnb rentals and things like that. But who knows? Buying might be a better option for the long run because you're in control. You set the pricing, and you don't have to worry about reporting to someone else or any type of complaint coming back to you. The next is check your state programs. I mean, there's tons and tons of state programs that you could probably get into. There's FHA, there's 203K, there's NACA, and then there's also, which is a Maryland program, Live Near Work, and that is a home buyer incentive program So just check your state programs for whatever your state you are in. These are just a couple that are national as far as FHA 203K and NACA, and then also the one that I found out that's here in Maryland that's popular is Live Near Work. So just there's tons of assistance. So make sure you're getting the most for your buck. And I would recommend looking into that. I mean, sometimes they have lengthy application processes, but you know what? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just sitting there and waiting for somebody to apply. Okay, number three. Does your state have short-term rental license requirements? Like I said, I am in Maryland, Baltimore, and Baltimore does have requirements, but it is not anything that's not doable. As you see here, in Baltimore, short-term rental is a rental uh, of all or a portion of your home for periods of less than 90 nights. And it says here that the Baltimore Council passed ordinance where they're establishing several requirements for short-term rentals or STRs, including the list licensing of such units. These requirements can be found in the city code, and they give you the title there. I would recommend printing and reading that out because it's just going to build and there's just going to be more and more requirements depending on where you're from. I mean, some places like I want to say like Miami and LA, I want to really just say LA have really, a cap on the number of STRs. And then also they withhold licensing. So there's only a certain amount of number they can give out. And then it becomes sort of like a liquor license deal where it's not really a value, but you have to pay high for it to get in there. Whereas when it started, it was anybody could. So it says here also, in order to rent your home as a short-term rental, the property must be your permanent residence, and the property must be free of any code violations. So permanent residence. So I mean, sounds like a buying situation to me. I am aware that there are some, um, you know, apartments that are rented as Airbnbs and VRBOs, but they're dwelling down on that. So that's what I'm saying. You might have a situation that's good where you're renting, but then that could dry up, and then you have to, go get a property, but where you could also just already do that from the beginning to cut time. And then you might say, okay, it doesn't take that long. I can just go out and get a house. But sometimes you got to strike where the iron's hot with those things. So check to see what the licensing requirements are in your state. The next one is set up a legitimate business. I mean, that is the key. That is the key. I treated it as such. I wanted to be successful. I applied a growth mindset, and I took it seriously. So I started ENC Property Homes, which is an LLC. I applied to the IRS to get my free EIN, opened up a separate bank account, and then I looked to build that as a legitimate business by applying for credit cards. And now I did not use my own personal credit. I used the EIN and the LLC, and I was able to get a IKEA. And the reason why I did IKEA is because IKEA has 365-day returns. So basically, anything that I have, no matter what conditions it's in, I can send it back. So for some of the larger things like dressers, couches, beds, those are the things that I use from IKEA. And IKEA will not only drop it off, but they'll pick it up as well. Then I also did Walmart, pretty much the same thing, and I also did Amazon. Now, real quick, I want to talk about. I'll talk about Amazon a little later, but you already know Amazon is shipping everything to the front door. But you gotta be careful because the package thieves are everywhere. So be careful. So the next is insurance, and that insurance is air cover. Right now, air cover is Uh, I mean, we've been hearing a lot about air cover, and I mean, it used to just be home insurance. There was a lot of people who were getting the home insurance. And actually, let me see if I can bring up the the breakdown for what it is on the air cover because I want to have a file right here. So let me bring it up for the air cover. All right. So here, so let's see. No, let me go back. Let me go back one. So when I first started out, I had AHS, which is American Home Shield, and a lot of people I've heard have them. Some people have good reviews, some people have bad reviews, but the main thing was just the coverage. I didn't want to be, left without any type of protection if anything was damaged. And so, um, here is on the Airbnb website, and make sure you get all your sources so you can get the best information. And so here's a breakdown of the air cover. I'll just use what it says here. So it says, let me go back. First thing is just $1 million. I mean, there's some nice Airbnbs out there, and you're right. Some people have $1 million property, and so I mean, you would have to have $1 million. It's just like working with Amazon. Amazon is the same thing. They're like, yeah, you need to have $1 million worth of lot coverage, and they're not lying. So here we got the different coverage. So it says here is $1 million liability insurance in the rare event that a guest is hurt. So that's what the liability insurance is for. We know that. Damage is uh cover damage by guests to your space, include valuables. um Pet protection, not to worry, damage done by four-legged guests. Now that's a real good one because uh cats. I've had a couple of guests that had brought their dog, and at the time they were the first guests with dogs, so it wasn't a big deal. But that guest after them, that's the problem because they're usually allergic to dogs. It just always works out like that. Guests ask to bring a dog, they explain it's a service dog, and then it's like, yeah, it doesn't shed much. You come in after that, there's hair everywhere, and then of course the next guest can message you after you, even if you don't say anything to them. It's guaranteed the next guest is gonna say, "Hey, was there a dog in here? I'm having allergies." I had no idea that many people was allergic to dogs, and it really, really will ruin your rating and will ruin your place. The person came with a dog and they stayed for a month, and it was just too long. I mean, the dog, it took me almost a week to get the smell out from just them letting the dog curl up with the blankets. And I did charge back, but damage was already done. And at that time, this was before air cover, and then look here, it says deep cleaning protection. It says we compensate you for unexpected cleaning costs, income loss protection. Airbnb reimburses for lost income if you have to cancel. Where the guest before damage, you find out there's damages that morning, and you have a guest checking in that afternoon. Quicker reimbursements, self-explanatory. 14-day filing window. It used to be, and I remember this, we had to file a claim that day. So basically, if there's a guest checking out today by 11 a.m., I would go there, and then I would have until that next guest to file a claim. Because then if you don't, how are you going to say who did what? And so I would walk in, I have my picture, get my camera, I take my pictures, and then I would immediately right there make the request for damages. And then it says here, faster track for Superhost. It says access to a dedicated support line with priority routing for guest damages. Now, the main thing I want to say about the air cover is, the 14-day filing, the quick reimbursements, the pet damage, and deep cleaning. You're going to have to pay for all this stuff up front. If anything's damaged, replace it, and you have to send them the receipt. If your carpet is damaged, you'll have to pay for it and send them the receipt. It's not going to be estimated. It's not going to be, um, you know, I've seen on the internet, they want the actual receipt for the job. That's just what they do. And once they get that, then they'll send you the money. So don't just think you're going to sit up there and put up seven, seven requests for funding for reimbursement and get that. You're not. I've had, like I said, I had American Home Shield. I had a couple instances, and every time American Home Shield came out, to me, they always said that they were unable to cover the problems. I had oven problem, they weren't able to cover it. I had a garbage disposal problem, they weren't able to cover it. So I ended up getting rid of them. But it was, great timing because air cover came out, so I can really appreciate that. Let's see here. The next one is upgrade all your devices, your electronic devices. I mean, I have a Ring doorbell. So the doorbell fits in the door in the door, like the peephole. It's like the peephole pretty much, and that's good because sometimes the side one is off to the side, and sometimes people can step around it. But when it's right in the peephole, it's pretty much right in the person's face. And the battery life is good, the connectivity is good. Although I can't really communicate two ways that well. I mean, at least a couple times I tried, they couldn't say that they could hear me, but I've heard some and seen some clips that they've heard me. And then also they have the Ring Neighborhood app where it's like all connected, so you don't have to pay anything extra. And I mean, you get updates about, it's mostly packages, believe it or not, it's mostly Amazon packages being stolen, and people checking cars at night. That's what it mostly is. And then some of other acts of more escalated violence in some pocket areas. I'm in Baltimore, so I get a lot of rings, especially on that west side. But I'm happy to be part of the community, and I am seeing how each of these cameras is making making the community safer. I definitely recommend smart switches. So when I mean smart switches, like every device has a plug, and then the smart switches are go into that plug, and then they go to the wall, and you can control it through your Alexa device, basically on and off. Mostly for lamps, televisions, things that you might forget to turn on. I mean, sometimes if you have a guest and there's some sort of storm, or you have to drive, an hour and a half to your Airbnb, you might just hit the switch on the app and just be like, I'll just leave earlier in the morning before the next guest. I've done that. You definitely want to get rollout beds. The more guests don't want to stay at your house. I know there's a lot of pride into these, and they're just like, hey, it's my house, this is my grandmother's, and it's our, our family cabin, and everybody's gonna love it. But that's not what people's looking to come for, as much as Airbnb says that. They're looking to stay together with their family so they don't have to get two or three hotel rooms. And they're looking to have some sort of larger get together with upwards of 8 to 10 people. So and then they're going to want to have people over and crash. So I'm definitely going to always say, definitely make sure you can sleep about 6 to 8 people. I mean, I can sleep 10 people, and I constantly get booked. I mean, if it wasn't for those 10 bookings, I wouldn't even have gotten anything. I wouldn't have got anything. And then the last is keypad door locks. And so these are the automatic, button, knob, no key, because people lose keys, or people forget to take the keys out their pocket. So it's a lot easier if you do that. Have those, and they're all available on Amazon. I mean, you don't really need me to get specific into that, but that's just some things that I know. I mean, wall murals and theme wallpaper. I mean, my Airbnb has gone through different phases, right? It started with where it was just pretty much a couch and a bed, and beds in each room, and some cups and plates, right? Very bare. Then it went to, we pulled up the carpet, we put a different floor down. Then we new paint on the walls. Then we painted the cabinets. And we upgraded the bedrooms, dressers, and then now we have wallpaper. We're slowly putting wallpaper, giving the room a bigger theme. And then it's been greatly appreciated. A lot of people are happy about the themes. I just think be careful on some of the going overboard with some of the pinks and the lavenders and the flowers. I mean, you want to have a neutral space for a group of guys to come in, and at the same time a group of girls come in. Sometimes my wife decorates, and she have an abundance of pink in the bedrooms, and one of the complaints I got from the guys was like, it's too much pink. And I can understand them, but the girls love it. So it depends on how you set it up, but just be more neutral. The next one is cleaners. Now I want to slow down on this topic because a lot of people are saying like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be all hands off. I'm not gonna even bust a sud or bend the elbow over there cleaning." And I just want you to tell you that's false. I mean, the, you may get lucky, but there's the scheduling on the cleaners and the availability was so hard because of times. I mean, even if you say to someone, "Hey, I have guests usually Tuesday through Friday," something can still come up with a cleaner, and you might have another guest. And now you can have a backup and the backup of a cleaner or two different companies, but you know the cleaning gets pretty steep. And I was never like, "Hey, um, I'm willing to pay $220 or even $180 for one day when the person cleaner has to come back tomorrow." So sometimes during the week, I would get in there and I would do the cleaning. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna clean. I'm going to save that money. I'm gonna collect that money that I'm charging the guests, and then maybe on the weekends when I'm out doing something, then I'll book a cleaner for Friday and Saturday. If especially if it's a larger group and I know that there's more things to be done. So it's just about knowing your business and figure out what's best for you. I think that's one of the best ideas to do. Let's see. The next thing that I have here is get your reviews, man. Get your reviews because I was not going to start a social media page and I ended up doing it. So check out at the IG at the Lumbar Loft, and it's reassuring because sometimes guests aren't as kind and petty or just leaving a what I consider to be a hater ass comment, but capture the good ones and highlight the good ones. Here I got 5 stars. ENC Properties were great hosts. This was a last minute booking, but they still came through. That's what you like to hear. We can make it happen. They checked on me several times to make sure I arrived, and the communication skills were great. The Lumbar Loft is a great location close to restaurants, the aquarium, and the sports stadiums. And so I took that and turned that into a whole little thing. And so marketing, marketing, marketing. I mean, now you're in the business, and I tell people this to let them know that you're not in the Airbnb business. You're not in the hotel business. You're in the customer service business. And so we're trying to provide great customer service with great amenities and great spaces. So that is my pretty much my list of everything you need to know to get started. I hope that this information is useful. I hope that you guys have a successful career, whether you buy, you rent, or whether you're doing a unique stay or a single family. I want you to know that take it for what it is. It's a great experience. This is a great time to be making your own money, and it feels good to be making that money while you sleep. So, like I said, I am the host of the Lumbar Loft in Baltimore. Next time you guys are there, drop them a line and say Evan sent you. Till next time.